So I will actually, in the presentation, I will skip the paper, and I would like to, the details are written down in the paper, and I would like to describe my research hypothesis as well as an in situ methodology concerning money as an institutional and social symbol. This is, it's evident that it's a part of a bigger project that I have in my institution in Athens. From institutional perspective, money symbolizes state's authority, as we know already from Aristotle in his Ethika Nicomachia, but also represents the degree of in my opinion, represents the degree of peripheral markets integration via in a global economic organization or in global economic mechanisms. In such an example is the gold standard during interwar period. Of course, with instruments, let's say, of integration, less raffinated, a lot more less raffinated than those used today in the Eurozone. We cannot compare the degree of integration, but in my opinion, also the gold exchange standard, the interworld gold exchange standard, represent an effort to globalize monetary mechanisms. I will speak a little about the interworld gold exchange standard because the example I will present you today is integrated in its functioning. So the interworld gold exchange standard can be considered as a stage of globalization. In practice, this monetary regime facilitated the circulation of capital and in general the creation of an integrated European market after the inflation experiences following the Great War. On the other hand, in its interwar phase, it was more a presupposition for the enacting of international financial exchanges aimed at the concentration of international reserves in the London market, which is what happened actually. So we have two options concerning the institutional aspect of money, let's say the national and the globalized or international aspect. These two options communicate with its different qualities as an object. I will define money's historical nature or quality that corresponds to the numismatic mintages and their placing through time, their dating, their localization in time. On the other hand, there is a pure numismatic quality, as we know, meaning money's material and artistic form that also defines its character as an object. On the other hand, we can speak about fetishization, if I am permitted to use Marxist or Marxian terminology. So its fetishization represents a social quality of money as it symbolizes social practices and stereotypes. It is clear that the modern numismatics of the European states are alimentated from a common source of representations, meaning the Greco-Roman iconography. For instance, we have the feminine allegoric figures, the gods and the heroes of the antiquity, and those are representing stable force, which is equivalent to the stability, the aimed stability of the money. These representations were rationalized, let's say, progressively, following the formation of the nation states. The cultural transfer via modern numismatics, remarked since 19th century, and until I think interwar period, clarifies the process of the nation states formation, which are symbolizing their existence via the common symbol, visual symbols. On the other hand, the common representation in national currencies and banknotes describes also the cooperation, as I said before in the beginning, in the framework of monetary zones. As an ultimo example can be referred the common iconography of the euro that narrates a European identity, not only cultural, but also economical. And in addition to an almost uniform iconography, the transfer of technical infrastructure and the European Artist Network crystallized during 19th century and up to interwar period, crystallized the common mechanism as regards the mintages and the fabrication, the banknotes fabrication. As a result of the above mentioned, numismatic representations can be referred in a context wider than the national, formulating also cultural meta-hypotheses, if I am permitted to say. In my analysis, these cultural meta-hypotheses are considered as parameters of social reality, and they are not examined as autonomous research objects, meaning I am not using them as the colleagues of cultural history used to do. So in the present paper, the above-mentioned research hypotheses are analyzed via the example of the Bank of Greece banknotes that they were fabricated in the middle of the 30s by the Bank of France. I was rather lucky to have access in this material, in this archival material. And as far as I know, it is rather it's rather uncommon to find such material for the exact administrative procedure concerning banknotes fabrication. This material, and I described all this procedure in the paper. Here I will not examine it in details, but I would like to tell that there are described some very detailed, let's say, technical issues, like the artist working for this fabrication, the payment of these artists, the quantities, the fabricated quantities of banknotes, etc. So also, the archival material describes the interest, the great interest of the vice governor of the Bank of Greece, which was at the period Emmanuel Tsuderos, rather important economist in Greece during interwar period. So from the archival from the documents of this archive, I could underline his interest concerning the fabrication of the banknotes, meaning he went a lot of times in Paris to collaborate with his colleagues in the Bank of France, so as the banknotes appears in a proper way according to the Bank of Greece. And I can say that his colleagues at the Bank of France accepted all the propositions he made. And also, maybe I can tell you that it's interesting, like a caricatural detail. A lot of times he sent to the service of fabrication in the Bank of France photos of the original statues being at the Archaeological Museum in Athens, so as to define the details that he wanted to be presented in the banknotes as regards the ancient prototypes, the ancient prototypes. So I would like then to underline for methodological reasons, purposes, the common use in the interwar French and Greek banknotes of these mythological, let's say, themes as allegorical figures. Because, okay, I will present you the Greek banknotes, but also they were French banknotes. So this is the 50 drachmas banknote. All of them are in the middle of the 30s. The command was given to the Bank of the Service of Fabrication of the Bank of France in 1934, and the banknotes were circulated in 1935. So this is, in my opinion, is the best Greek banknote. And you can see the reproduction of a marble relief of 15th century, BC, of course, found in Elefsina, representing Demeter and Triptolemos, and the daughter of Demeter, Persephone. Why they chose this subject, this theme? Because it's a theme representing the diffusion of agriculture in ancient, in mythological terms, let's say. Triptolemos was the hero that, according to mythology, taught to the Greeks their agriculture. And Demetra gave him this knowledge. So they represent this scene, reproducing, of course, the original marble relief, which today it's in the Archaeological Museum of Elefsina, in the banknote. And also you have the goddess, Demetra, represented in another way, let's say, Art Deco, according to the principles of the 30s. And I was lucky to find the original sketch, let's say, from the Bank of France. They don't have it in the Bank of Greece, this one, even if, according to the contract, the Bank of Greece had to take all the prototypes. But I found that in the archives, and they gave me the right to use it, in public. So this is the sketch, the original sketch. And you have in the obverse of this same banknote, you have also agriculture. So we have a connection between the representation of the banknote, meaning agriculture, with the purposes of Greek economic policy this period, because we are after the Greek bankruptcy in 1932, and the state want to develop agriculture as an internal organization of the market for purposes of exports, of course, but mostly so as to obtain an autarcy in agricultural products during the 30s. So, and here we have the 100 drachmas banknote from the same series, and you can see Hermes, the god of money making, let's say, of commerce, which he also represents the masculine, the eternal masculine force for the ancient Greeks. Also, I've said already that he's connected with the development of commerce, so it was also a purpose of the interwar economic policy in Greece. And here is a parallel, let's say. Hermes in the Bank of France, 300 Hermes in the banknote of 300 francs during the same period in France, fabricated also by, of course, by the Bank of France, and also Demetra in the same banknote. So we have the same representations in the Greek banknotes and in the French banknotes during this period. And I have to note, to annotate, that this French banknote is fabricated after the fabrication of the Greek series in 1938 by the same group of artists. So I presume that there is a connection concerning the representation of the form, meaning that here we have a real classical representation, but here, which was before the fabrication of the Greek series, Hermes and Dimitra are representing in a Art Deco way or in a modern way, always the same group of artists. So I think that the intervention of the Bank of Greece vice governor to the Rosa, as I said before, it was a progress because his suggestion concerning the classical reproduction of the ancient gods were accepted by the French artists, and then here I mean this one it's a clear example. So we have a different form. Yes, thank you. We have this change of representation in the French banknote after the fabrication of the Greek series. So I would like also to demonstrate you this sketch, this maquette, with the representation of Athena, of Minerva, of course with sense of industry and shipping. This was a proposition for the 1,000 drachma banknote concerning the Greek series that I am trying to analyze. So this was the first selection for the 1,000 drachmas representation. And it's not, I can say that, okay, Athena was a sort of symbol for the first Greek Republic, something like Marianne for the French Republic. So I think that the choice of this goddess for the 1,000 banknote is connected with the ideological climate, the liberalism of the first Greek Republic. And of course, we have representations concerning industry and maritime affairs, also connected with the aims of the Greek state. Although this was not accepted finally by the governor of the Bank of Greece, and they changed this representation with sense of agricultural life also. For my opinion, this is connected with the decline of the first Hellenic Republic, because we are in 1935. And in 1936, we have the imposition of a dictatorship. So already in 1935, the values, let's say, as freedom, liberty, are already declined. And I have to precise here that the chefs, the administrators, the elite during the first Hellenic Republic accepted the imposition of the dictatorship. It is a paradigm parallel to Portugal and to Spain, in my opinion. So they didn't accept this representation of Athena. But I would like also to demonstrate you this French banknote. It is earlier, of course, 1915, representing Athena and sense of agricultural life. So, okay, so this this sort of interpretation of, representations in banknotes wants to underline two facts. One fact is two hypotheses. It's not facts. Two hypotheses of mine. One is that the use of mythological symbols coincides with, as I said, with the creation of the nation state, meaning that the heroes, the gods, representing the national identity. In the Greek case, okay, we can say that it's an effort to connect the present with the past. But as we've seen, these same representations are used. Okay, I demonstrate the French case, but also we have American banknotes with gods and all the Greco-Roman universe, etc. So, in my opinion, there is this common use that symbolizes the market integration or the effort to create an integrated market. I want to say that there is a connection between economic processes and cultural representation. On the third place, there is another hypothesis of mine saying, connecting a bit the use of the mythological symbols with the, let's say, psychoanalytic argument. So we can refer the thought of Freud that the representations or the symbols are survived from its initial use, meaning that the use of these gods or the use of the representation of these gods has nothing to do with the reality today, but they survive as being artistic symbols or artistic representation. On the other hand, we have also Carl Jung's opinion that says that the representation, the symbols, the mythological symbols are representing an eternal subconscious. So it's also this, let's say, psychoanalytic or psychological argument connecting the use of mythological terms with a collective subconscious mentality. So thank you very much for your attention.